The cameras were rolling and the world was watching. The bright lights cast sharp shadows on the faces of everyone in the room, but none was more illuminated than Jasmine Crockett. The rising star in the political landscape, her presence undeniable, her voice unyielding. But tonight, something else stood in the way. Her adversary, a man well known for his sharp tongue and calculated critiques, sat across from her with an arrogant smirk, as if he already knew what was coming. He had underestimated her, but she would make him regret it. The moment was thick with tension, not from the usual political games, but from something far more insidious. His words cut through the air, laced with the venom of misogyny. "You don't belong here, do you?" he sneered, his eyes scanning her face as if daring her to respond, daring her to show weakness. The room fell silent. His words hung in the air like a fog, a cold challenge thrown at the feet of every woman who had ever fought for respect, for recognition. And yet, Jasmine Crockett wasn't like the others. She wasn't someone who would sit idly by and let such words define her. No, she had heard that tune before. She had heard it every time she had stepped into a room, every time she had fought for her seat at the table. She could feel the eyes of the world on her, but she wasn't afraid. She wasn't intimidated. She was ready. Ready to show him and everyone else that no one would silence her again. Raised in the heart of Dallas, Texas, Jasmine knew what it was like to fight. She knew what it meant to push against the tide, to make herself heard in a world that would rather see her stay quiet. Every day had been a struggle against the barriers that sought to hold her back, to make her feel small, to tell her that she wasn't enough. But she had never believed them. Not then, not now. She had been the underdog for most of her life, and that only made her more determined to succeed. Her life had been a tapestry of triumphs and trials, each one leaving its mark on her soul, but none more powerful than the moment she found herself in now. This was her moment, and she would take it. She would show them that she was not just a woman who made waves. She was the storm itself. The commentator's voice broke through her, thoughts his mocking tone snapping her back to reality. "Let's face it, Jasmine. Women like you are great for the optics, but you're not here to lead. You're just a talking head, a pawn for the real power brokers." The room seemed to hold its breath. Gasps echoed softly around the auditorium, some of them from people who had once seen this man as an authority, a voice of reason. But now, as his words cut deeper into the air, they felt the sting too. Jasmine could feel the heat of the attack, but she refused to let it burn her. Instead, she stood tall, her chin lifting with a quiet defiance. She had been preparing for this moment her entire life. The years of study, the speeches, the late nights spent fighting for every inch of ground she had gained. This was the culmination of it all. She wasn't just responding to an insult. She was responding to the centuries of injustice, the systemic oppression that told her, and so many like her, that they would never be enough. Her voice came steady and clear, cutting through the venom, in his words like a knife. "You're right," she said, a slight pause hanging in the air as the audience leaned in, unsure of what she would say next. "I am a woman, and I'm here to show you just how wrong you are about what we can achieve." The words were simple, but they were heavy with truth. It wasn't just a retort, it was a declaration, a challenge. She wasn't going to shrink away. She wasn't going to back down. This wasn't about optics or power brokers. It was about breaking the chains that had held her, and so many others, down for far too long. For a moment, the man across from her faltered. His confident posture seemed to waver, his arrogance slipping just a fraction. But he quickly regained his composure, sneering once again, as if to say, "You think you've won, but you haven't." But Jasmine could see the cracks. She could feel the shift in the room, the way the audience was starting to pay attention, starting to see her not just as a woman, but as a force to be reckoned with. And then, she did something he hadn't expected, something that left the entire room stunned. "The truth is," she continued, "you've spent your entire life telling women like me that we don't belong. You've spent years shaping a narrative that only the strong survive, but you forget. Strength doesn't come from belittling others. It comes from rising above, from proving them wrong. from being seen when they've tried to keep you invisible. The room went silent. It was a silence that carried weight, a silence that spoke volumes. Jasmine's words weren't just for the man sitting across from her. They were for every woman who had ever been silenced, every person who had ever been dismissed, every voice that had been ignored. In that moment, Jasmine Crockett became more than just a politician. She became a symbol of resilience, of defiance, of hope. She had taken the attack, turned it on its head, and used it to remind the world of the power of speaking out, of standing tall in the face of adversity. The man, for all his bravado, had no words left. He had underestimated her, and now he was paying the price. The camera zoomed in on his face, and for the first time the world saw something unfamiliar. He was speechless, but Jasmine wasn't done. She wasn't here to simply win this moment. She was here to win the battle that had been fought for generations. "I'm not a pawn," she said, her voice rising with each word. "And I'm certainly not here for the optics. I'm here to change the game. I'm here because I believe that power belongs to those who speak truth, even when it's uncomfortable." Her words resonated through the room, echoing in the hearts of those who had ever been dismissed, ignored, or belittled. The audience, once hesitant, now stood in awe of her courage, her strength, her ability to transform a moment of insult into an opportunity for change. And just as the tension reached its peak, Jasmine did something unexpected. She smiled, a smile, not of victory, but of quiet determination. She wasn't looking for applause, she wasn't looking for validation. She had already won. As the debate ended and the cameras rolled off, Jasmine walked off the stage, her head held high, a quiet pride in her chest. She had responded to the attack, but more importantly, she had shown the world that women would no longer be silent. They would no longer be invisible. Her moment wasn't just a victory for her. It was a victory for every woman who had ever been told they weren't enough. It was a victory for every voice that had ever been suppressed. The world would remember this moment. And just maybe, it would remember Jasmine Crockett as the woman who had risen above, not just for herself, but for all of them. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more inspiring tales of hope, healing, and unexpected courage. Hit the like button and share this with someone who needs it today. Let's keep making history together.